Okay guys, just a painting video, and I'll talk a little bit about the book I got, the Khotyn Campaign of 1621 by Michał Paradowski. I'll get to that in a second, but I just wanted to talk about these Cossack wagons. I painted, finished up 2 today, and they look just okay. I zoom in a little bit. Yeah, this is one of those figures, types of figures I just don't really particularly like painting them, but you know, I've since found that they're not that difficult to paint. There's just a lot of odd angles, and mostly it comes from when you assemble these, they're metal with like a resin or like a plastic, like the actual like wagon part, and they're hard to put together. I've talked about this in the earlier videos when I was assembling these, so I'm not going to repeat too much, but you know, you have to, basically you have to glue them to the base, so it makes a lot of odd angles for painting. But I decided, you know what, I'm just going to do a really simple paint job, probably because when I went to the War Game Club several weeks ago, I really noticed that, like, playing a big war game like that, it was English Civil War, you know, I really wasn't paying attention to the figures like up close that much. And you know, it's easy like to say, oh, you're going to look at your miniatures at 3 feet, but I think that's when I really noticed, you know, because it was a good game, and was really focused on that. So for something like this, you know, obviously I think for like the hussars and the cavalry units, I'm going to keep trying to make them look as good as I can. But these guys, just because it's a little challenging to paint, and I want to just get the whole thing done, yeah, I'm just mostly focusing on just getting everything kind of done. And you know, the good thing is you don't really need to do too many colors on these, because you've just got your wood tones and the horses. And then I decided, I just looked up some artwork of Zaporozhian Cossacks from like a slightly later period than what I'm going for, and a lot of them are depicted in red, so I figured, you know, why not just paint them in red. I think I might just change up like the shade of red to give it some variation. But yeah, I did 2 today. I gotta find the cannon. I gotta glue that back on and repair that. But yeah, I mean, I think they turned out just okay. Like I said, it was painted pretty quickly. But I've got 3. Zoom out. I've got 3 wagons done in the train, and it'll be a nice. I think it'll look really nice once you know, I get them all set up and into like a wagon lagger. Especially because if I can just do it quickly, just to see what it might look like with the unpainted ones. Got 7. Can we, gotta see if I can actually set it up like that. Okay, yeah, it works. So yeah, so you can make an actual wagon fort with them, so that's perfect. And then I've got more stuff to do. I've got hussars, and then I stripped the bad primer off these Khorasan Ottomans. So I have another squadron of Ottoman cavalry, for my, probably going to use mainly for the Safavids, but I can use them for my current project also, as it's kind of Safavid elite cavalry. And then next thing I wanted to talk about, so we can zoom out a little bit more. Yeah, I got this book. I'm just gonna do a quick flip through. I'm really glad I got this. You know, I had bought a Hellion book about that I did a review on a few years ago, and The content of it, from as I remember, was fine. You know, it was good. I was only a little disappointed in that one about, the author didn't use as many sources, but other than that, I mean, it was like primary sources, but other than that, it was fine. But this one is really good, and I'm hoping. I think if this is a sign, I think the editing at Hellion Publishing is much better. And I guess I just briefly mentioned that, like a lot of with these trade history books, a lot of problems is the editors don't like know how to edit a history book, which is not just like making it readable, but looking at like how the author constructs their evidence and or presents the evidence and constructs their narrative. They don't really do that kind of part of it, the deeper kind of aspect. But anyway, that aside, this is really good. I haven't finished it yet, but the author, this is a book that does like a really good service where the author uses a lot of Polish scholarship and puts it into English, and it's really helpful. Also uses a lot of documents, primary documents, which is awesome. And it's mostly about Khotyn, and I'm trying to wargame Setsura, which is the year before Khotyn. Let me just go to the back to the. Let's see if is there bibliography? Yeah, here we go. So he lays out all of his archives, which is awesome. This is what you want to find in a good history book, is make sure they use original documents, whether they're like original in archives like this, or if they're published, published documents. That's also something. Or if you're like me, I use a lot of manuscripts, but I think this is kind of an awkward angle, so, but he has a map of Setsura, which is really helpful because, let me adjust this actually. Yeah, here we go. Because I was trying to figure out, just looking at like Google Earth, what the battlefield looked like in 1620, and trying to guess, because the town is still there. The river hasn't really changed that much, which sometimes happens with even from like this period, which is not that long ago. But get a nice battlefield map. So this is going to be really helpful to set up my game when I can finally run it, because the Ottoman sources are not super good with giving you like clear directions about like where people are positioned, and the reason is it comes down to the author. A lot of the authors of these Ottoman military chronicles would be like a secretary attached to the campaign, and sometimes they know a lot about military stuff, sometimes they were soldiers, and sometimes they're not. So they don't really know, like they're not good at presenting the stuff that we would want as war gamers or military historians. But here we have a really nice map. So yeah, I'm really happy I got this finally. I was kind of hesitant to order it because of the price, but I'm glad I did. And there's a lot of really nice art and pictures in it, so that's always helpful. Get nice color plates. Oh, look at that. We do have some Nogai, which I actually did not know. Crimean or Nogai. So he's got a blue coat on. Yeah, because I bought some of those from Khorasan, he's got some more period illustrations. This comes from a really famous costume book by a Swede that traveled to the Empire. This is a really good resource. I can't remember what it's called, but I'm pretty sure I've looked at it on the channel before. Yeah, a lot of good pictures. This is really helpful. I'm happy. I'm pretty pleased with that. I'm pretty happy I got this. He doesn't use any Ottoman sources, but that's really okay. He uses a translation of one Ottoman historian, Naima, who is from the. I'm only bringing this up just to kind of give some context about it. So Naima writes a lot about it, and he uses a translation into Polish of Naima. He's like an official historian in the 18th century. He's like the first actual official historian for the state in the empire. But there are a lot of chronicles. Now, an interesting thing about this period is there's not many documents, and I know this because I have tried to find or look at the documents from this period, and there's really not much for 1620 and 1621. And well, I don't know that for sure. It's probably because the Sultan Osman II there's a regicide of him. He's like a teenager, young teenager, and mainly because he was threatening to go into Anatolia, probably to raise a new army that would have displaced the Janissaries, because they were causing problems for the empire at that point. And he's murdered, and it's a pretty major turning point in Ottoman history. Something I'd like to write about a lot more someday. But yeah, so there's really not many Ottoman documents, but we do have a lot of the chronicles that I've talked about, and the manuscript kind of sources. I did a rough translation and read one of them a year or two ago. I think I did that from one of the chroniclers. His name was Topçular Abdülkadir Efendi. So he was a Topçu. He was an artillery clerk, basically. Topçu is like what the name of the artillery corps, Imperial Artillery Corps. So he did that. So there are Ottoman sources. Another thing I appreciate about the book was he mentions, and this is really common, I think in all periods of history, but especially at this for 16th and 17th century, you have a lot of stuff where there's a lot of contradictions in the different accounts, and that can be really hard trying to reconstruct a battle. So I think there's a lot of, we even get the stuff like in World War II history or history of First World War. There's still stuff that's debated about, what happened or who had the blame. I mean, but, you go back, 400 or 500 years, and it's also challenging. So anyway, that's my video. So the project's coming along nicely. I'm really happy with the book. And, if I can get to researching the campaign with the Ottoman sources eventually, I will do it. It's just gonna have to be a side project. I've got a couple things I'm working on right now that are not related to that. So anyway, I'll just do, if you made it to the end, I'll just do one last look at the wagons, and yeah, I'm gonna keep working away. I should have done this at the beginning, but I did want to. I've been watching the videos of Traris Wargaming and Ranger Wargaming, and they're doing a really big Historicon game of later Romans and Germans. I forget the name of the battle. Battle of Strasbourg, I think. I hope I'm getting that right, but it's going to be like a really huge game, but it's been really motivating to see their progress. So, I'm not doing anything on the scale that they're doings, but it's just nice to good motivation to, you know, work on my big project and keep working away. And I think if I'm consistent, I can finish up what I've got, because I've got more Ottomans to do. And then the last two things, and then I've got some Cossack infantry, and then I've got the Transylvanians I already have. I've got a unit of Tatars, and then I think I'm going to need the last kind of, I think, two elements is the Transylvanians and the Tatar contingents, and then I think that should be enough. But I might, when I look at everything, I might want to add just a few more units to each side, but we'll see. You know, we'll see what I can do. All right, this is kind of another long one, so thanks for sticking with me, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.